Black Souls. Right, before we go any further, I'm gonna get it out of the way immediately. This game has some extreme sexual topics, and when I say extreme, I mean extreme. Within it includes rape as well. I cannot show any of this on YouTube at all. None of the sexual stuff I can show, for obvious reasons. I do want to keep my channel. But I will discuss key scenes and talk about the rape itself and if it actually adds anything to the game's story or world or anything like that, or if it doesn't, and I'll critique that. I think it's more interesting to look at these things in more of a critical sense than to just sort of point at them, say they're disgusting or good or whatever you look at them as, and move on from it. So please, viewer discretion is advised, so just watch yourself. Black Souls, the first game in the Black Souls series, a series of dark fantasy Souls-like JRPGs made in the RPG Maker game engine, developed by Sushi Yusha Toro, or as he's known online, Eeny Meeny Miny Mo. And yes, just by the name itself, it's painfully obvious that this game is more than a little bit inspired by arguably the most influential game of all time. I said arguably, don't bite my fucking head off. Not only does it pull from Dark Souls in many different aspects, it also pulls many influences for its world from many of the great European writers of classic fairy tales. Writers like Charles Perrault, Hans Christian Andersen, Lewis Carroll, and of course the Brothers Grimm. Despite all this inspiration from many different sources, what good is inspiration if it can't hold its own in its own world and own narrative that can blaze its own path? So without further ado, let's dive into Black Souls proper, into one of the most disturbing JRPGs that has ever been made. So Alice here allows us to create our character, which of course includes us inputting our name as whatever you want it to be, but also a starting background, with 3 being available, basically our starting classes: Knight, Thief, and Sorcerer. And these 3 can make quite a big difference early on, but late game, they don't really matter and they don't have any sort of long-term repercussions for picking whatever one you pick. But let's go through each one just so if you play this game, you know what one each one is. The Knight has a higher starting defense and attack than the other 2, and also gets a skill straight away which allows the player to drop the enemy's attack and defense within battle. Honestly, is a strong starting setup and class, and is actually very beginner friendly, as the setup here with high defense and attack makes the game slightly easier and not as punishing, especially early on. Next is the Thief, and I thought this would allow you to get a skill like lockpicking, but no, you actually just get a higher speed stat and an ability which allows you to insta-kill enemies under the right circumstances. But also you get a bonus of 1,000 souls as well. Honestly, at first, the Thief looks like the worst one, but a certain stat, speed, is the king in this game, and it means that Thief is actually the best starting class to basically level up as fast as possible and get the best stats at early game. And Sorcerer, which gives a higher magic, and Sorcerer, which gives a higher magic stat and also a higher resistances stat, with the ability Soul Arrow being available at the very beginning, an ability which is a basic magic attack basically. And as I stated, which one is the best? It's Thief. Speed is the king stat in this game, the one that this game completely relies on, and what will pretty much determine your success in this game is your speed stat. But honestly, as I stated, it isn't the end of the world depending on which one you pick, so just choose whichever one you want to use, honestly. And to be honest, it doesn't really matter, so pick away. With us selecting our background, we can also pick a starting gift, from a master key, a life ring, a piece of candy, or a divine blessing. Honestly, again, it doesn't really matter. It's very much like Dark Souls 1 with the starting gifts. These are very much used for sort of routes that you're going to take within the game for your playthrough. For example, in Dark Souls, the one that most people always recommend you take is the key, which allows you to unlock a certain door very early on that will allow you to get a better weapon. It's very much used for people that are more experienced in the game, but honestly, again, it doesn't really matter. These aren't big enough changes, and you can get all these items in the game later on as well. So just pick whichever one you think would be advantageous to you. It doesn't really matter, but some of these items, or one of these items, is used within a specific quest in this game, which I'll get into in a minute, so keep that in mind. However, the very next question that Alice asks us is if we're interested in carnal acts. a fun word, and for those who don't know what that word actually means, because I know not everyone knows words like this, it just means sexual stuff. The game allows you to completely turn off all the hentai scenes, which is good, honestly. It is good that it allows people to turn it off, but I didn't turn them off, because I wanted to play this game in its original state, as the creator intended, and also because I wanted to torture myself. But again, I can't show any of that, but no, I did suffer through all of it. With all our questions answered, we can now begin the game proper, with Alice telling us that we will meet her again at some point, and then she decides like she don't know nobody. Well, that ain't too good. And now we enter a dungeon. It's exactly like the start of Dark Souls, with us being stuck in a prison cell. With no escape possible at the moment, but after waiting a couple of seconds, a young female soldier appears, killing both the guards rather effortlessly. Now this is Holy Knight Jeanne, and I'll be honest, I'm not going to voice any of the female characters, it does my voice in like hell. But she is the first of the 10 female companions that we will meet within this game, and yes, there is 10 of them, and no, I'm not going to voice any of them because, again, I don't want to do my voicing again. But she fills a similar role to Oscar of Astora from Dark Souls. She helps to break us out of our jail cell, unintentionally compared to what Oscar did in Dark Souls, but she does help us break out, and following her path, we can meet up with her, but along that path, we also enter our first bit of combat. So let's talk the gameplay of Black Souls. Now, Black Souls, honestly, at first, its combat is quite confusing because it doesn't really explain anything, which I do like. I like when games don't explain shit to you and you just gotta work it out. But of course, it's fairly basic turn-based combat. You attack, your enemy attacks, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You take one action per turn, it's simple as that. But the thing that caught my eye was this meter, the AP meter, which needs to charge up in order for you to attack. So this game is all about speed. So if an enemy is faster than you, they will most likely attack first in combat, or at worst, they might attack multiple times before your AP meter can completely charge up. But this fact itself also applies to you. In Black Souls, your success in combat relies heavily on your stats and setup, as worse stats can be offset by some very powerful support buffs from summons, but if you never get the chance to actually use them buffs, you're basically done for. However, this does mean, like something like Dark Souls or any other Soulsborne game, early game, it's pretty tough, but late game, you get so over leveled that you can just wipe the floor with everything in the game. At the end of the game, I started one-shotting everything, and if it didn't, I would get 3 or 4 attacks before the enemy could even hit me. The game gets very, very easy, and a lot of people said this game was as hard as Fear and Hunger. It's not. This is a pretty simple RPG in my eyes, and I never really struggled with it, but it's still good fun though, I will say that. I do like the combat system, I just wish there was a bit more challenge, and there is a challenge mode in this game, which I might come back to and play, but at the moment, not right now. Now, beating enemies, just like Dark Souls, you may receive a fun variety of different items, which can be absolutely anything in the game. And of course, you always get souls. And like Dark Souls as well, I'm going to keep fucking saying it, souls can be used to purchase items, skills from many vendors, and of course, to level up. By defeating our first enemy, we can finally regroup with Jeanne, and she fully introduces herself as Jeanne d'Arc, hailing from Orleans, obviously a Joan of Arc character thing, or the fairy tale retelling of her story, but she explains to us that the world is in ruins with demon beasts, and a mysterious fog plaguing the land, with the fog turning humans into these beasts. I wonder where they got the fog from. Fucking demon souls, obviously. She says that she will help escort us out of Fort Ivan to safety, so she joins us while we make our way out of the fort. Of course, there are monsters along the way you can engage in combat, but you can also explore the area, grabbing a variety of items that we can utilize within our journey later on. But as we are approaching the end of the fort, for Jeanne, just like Oscar, she asks us to lend our strength to her in her quest to fix the world. Unlike Oscar though, he did it in a place of pleading, with him dying there, and Jeanne's doing it more like, hey, you want to join me and we can go change the world? So yeah, she's not going to die. But she states that even an undead can become a hero, which is what we are. We're an undead, kind of like Dark Souls. Again, I'm going to keep saying it. But we can either just completely stay silent, or we can promise her to help her. Doesn't matter what you pick, because 5 seconds later, a funny little dragon pops up and burns Jeanne to death as well. That is a horrible way to die. With Jeanne dying there, now of course we don't die to the dragon, but we now get into our first boss fight, akin to, again, the first boss fight in Dark Souls, which you're meant to lose. This is the Hell Kaiser. Now, as I stated, you are meant to lose this boss fight. You're not meant to be familiar enough with the combat system at all, but if you do beat the boss, you get access to a very powerful weapon, the Drake Sword. So honestly, it is very much worth beating this boss if you can, as this weapon will carry you to the very late game and can even beat the game for you. Yes, it's a bit boring because you don't really engage with any of the other weapons, but honestly, the weapons aren't different enough to really warrant you picking and choosing. The weapons are very similar to a game where you just upgrade it over time, as each weapon is sort of just in a hierarchy. So honestly, getting a great weapon early on, it just makes the game a bit easier and something less to worry about. But losing or winning to the boss, we are transported to the Holy Forest, and this is our Firelink Shrine, in which we can light our very first bonfire, which are our respawn points and allow us to refill our health and flasks when we get them, but we can also fast travel from them. So they're pretty much your central place that you'll go to restore health, items, refill them, and also get around the map, especially late game when you need to teleport all over the shop. But we can also meet the Prayer Master.
Hey, you came here too? I guess I was carried here is a better way to put it. No worries, this ain't the Netherworld. This is just a place for those who became wanderers to make the first step, the center of the board. I see. Seems like there's something you want to do, right? Maybe you're hoping to save the world, or maybe rule all of mankind? Doesn't matter to me either way. But if you've got souls to trade, I'll help you. Spend time in this forest as you like, that's fine too. Though I gotta warn you that there are demon beasts lurking just outside of here, so try not to die. But since you're undead, that's not something you need to worry about. Oh, and do find Leaf before leaving. She's not like the other fairies. I'm sure she'll be of use to you.
The Prayer Master acts as our level up guy, and also our main vendor for consumable items. We will use him very commonly for all of our needs, specifically for leveling up our character specifically. But also down some stairs we can meet our blacksmith.
You, who? Want weapon strong? Then give all I make strong.
Just like the many smiths of the Dark Souls and whatever other universes we can think of, he is a friendly face that allows us to power up our weapons to make them even stronger later in the game. But of course, we need to find items to do that, so we can't utilize them quite just yet.
But we can also meet the crestfallen hero, someone that seems to be a hero from before our time.
Now, Black Souls is a true man's RPG, and I mean it is very open-ended. Like Dark Souls 1, we are given an objective to kill the 4 demonic princesses from this guy here, who is very friendly, who are in differing locations. Again, this is pretty much the same thing as Dark Souls. We can tackle these objectives in whatever order you want and in any way you want. But there are also many side quests scattered about the lands and characters to meet along the way, so we do have a main final objective to chase, but we also can engage with some smaller side objectives to keep us going, because we won't really be engaging with them princesses till much later in the game. Now, for this video, I followed a guide which ensured that I hit every single side objective and main objective within the game completely, as I didn't want to miss a thing. So it ensured that I got all the side quests done, I did all the companions and got them all recruited, and also ensured I got all endings, which is very good and it was very nice to have. But with enough rambling, let's get rambling. We begin our journey in the Forest of Abandoned, a simple area which allows you to figure out the combat and exploration part of the game. First up in the Forest of Abandoned, we can meet our first companion that we can recruit, Leaf. Leaf will be basically essential for your early game in Black Souls due to how strong her abilities are, especially early on. And here we can find a very important item for the game, the Anti-Fairy.
Oh, you came just at the right time. These days really got too far with their bothersome blanks. Just today, they've torn off 16 leaves of mine. Well, you see a bit more mobile than I am. Why don't you punish those noisy flies for me? If there Lord, all you'll need is to really punish them.
The Anti-Fairy, which we will not use quite just yet, and also a character who will be part of a much wider quest, Tortoise Knight Adamant.
Oh, an adventurer. Can't breathe well in this trash-filled forest. Oh, forgive my rudeness. I'm called Adamant of Andor. Please accept this as a token of our meeting. Oh, and allow me to warn you. Among other things, you may find a talking flower somewhere in this forest. The mucus of it, I heard, can melt even the sturdiest armor. Be cautious, I say. The Lost Empire. I heard of it, of course. In the past it was brimming with energy, but ever since the Queen went mad, it's filled with demon beasts. Sadly, I have a different destination now. A joyous happening it would be to cooperate with another adventurer in bringing down such foes. Oh, and be wary of the white fog. Such fog heralds danger. A formidable foe may await you beyond it.
With Adamant giving us some good world building and a clear objective of what to do, we continue forward to the witch's house, ensuring we don't pick up any items along the way, because inside we can meet Hansel and Gretel, and if we pick up any of the items, they turn into demon beasts. And no, I can't do young children voices. I lost that ability many years ago when my voice decided to go very deep, so I can't do their voices either, and I'm not going to voice them because it will destroy my voice and I'll be out of commission for a few days. But giving them the piece of candy that you can pick up from the start, you can make the boy very happy, but we can head upstairs and we can meet Dorothy, yes, of Wizard of Oz fame, with her being rather aggressive and, what's that option right there? What does that say? I guess we should talk about it now, eh? Alright, I'm gonna keep this very brief because I honestly think this is something that I don't need to just ramble on about. So in Black Souls, you can rape any of the female characters and a couple of the male ones that you meet along your journey. Now, do I think this feature is necessary? Kind of. I think the feature, well, yes, shocking, and it's meant to be shocking. It does tie into the game's themes and also does tie into the usage of the many older fairy tales with the game's world and story. The old fairy tales, they weren't exactly completely squeaky clean, and many of them did have themes of sexual assault in them. They weren't as explicit as this, but they were there. But within the game, you never actually need to engage with this mechanic, so by that statement, no, it's not necessary, and honestly, you could take this out and the game would still functionally be fine. But as an RPG as well, it does add a level of player choice, and it does allow you to play the most evil fucker in the world. You can play as that evil character in the fairy tales that did all those things. But honestly, I think its presence here is validated in a weird way. I know that's really odd for me to say, but it does tie into the game's themes and everything about fantasy and the messed up side of having fantasies in that way. But the good thing about this game though is the mechanic is never presented as a good or positive thing that you do. It is always the negative thing. Whenever you use it, it's always seen as bad, not only because you lose certain characters, quests, so on and so forth, but also the sin mechanic in the game heavily punishes you for engaging with it. So it never actually makes the action of rape a good thing. I know, brave statement from me, a man. Rape is bad, of course, but I think the game does use it in a way that is okay. It isn't there for the sake of shock value. While many people will say that, I don't think it's there for that reason. I think it's there more to tie into the game's narrative themes and the world's themes as well. So it does, I think, warrant it being there in a weird way. There are plenty of other stories, games, whatever, that have these in them that are just there for shock value. But Black Souls does sort of build a case that honestly, it kind of needs it to tell the level of story that it's going for in a way. But as I stated, you never actually have to indulge with this mechanic. So in that way, it's not really needed. But I'm going to stop rambling because honestly, I don't really know how to explain why until we get towards the endings of the game. So I'm going to save that for later. So let us continue. But we can ask to become her apprentice, with her being reluctant, but she agrees as long as we fulfill a request for her to kill 3 targets: the Cowardly Lion, the Tin Woodman, and the Scarecrow. Which, damn Dorothy, okay, I didn't realize you guys were like that now. We agree to this quest, however, and now we head out to hunt them. But outside we meet another individual, Sinner Wilt.
Damn it, I must do it. If I waste any more time, if I don't gather determination. Who are you? Are you of the Black Trial? Oh, so you aren't. Better off ignoring me then. You're still here. Wait, I have a good idea. Hey, you, cooperate with me. It won't be a bad deal, I promise. These children, Hansel and Gretel, they are my family. You saw them too, right? At this rate, they'll turn into demon beasts soon. I've gathered souls somehow to save the children, but I'm not prepared. I want to feed souls to them, but I'm too nervous. I can't gather the courage. You understand, right? I need that medicine. With it, I'll be a fine hero. There's a girl named Elma living in Rottenburg beyond the sewers. Can I ask you buy the medicine from her? Here's the advance pay and a smaller reward.
So Cinderwilt seems to be associated with Hansel and Gretel, being their older brother seemingly. But he seems fearful of a group called the Black Trial, and he asks us to find a girl called Elma and buy a match from her for him, some medicine. So we oblige and we note down the request and we tell him we will be back with the medicine. But from here we move towards the warehouse up north, finding the Cowardly Lion inside, and we murder him. With the Cowardly Lion murdered and the warehouse looted, we now head back out and head towards the Behemoth ranch, where we can find the Tin Woodman and kill him as well. But also here we can find Goose, the goose that lays the golden egg. Goose goes on about being captured by the 3 little pigs and everything, and we agree to save her and we use a master key to unlock the chains off of her. And she will now return to the Holy Forest and she will act as a bank for us to store our souls in. So when we die, we don't lose them forever. Now we fight the Scarecrow and kill him.
Brains, give me your brains.
And head back to Dorothy and become her apprentice, and she rewards us with, I can't show any of that on YouTube. Yes, she has sex with us. How fun. But with this, we now obtain Dorothy as our first, as a summon, and summons like Dark Souls can be leveled up. So how do we level up a summon? Well, surely we get an item like you do in Dark Souls or Elden Ring. No, you use souls to level them up. So the souls you earn, you have to give to them and they level up. And we have to do something called Soul Feed. So what is that? I just want you to guess. Just have a fucking guess. Just guess. What do you think you have to do with Soul Feed? Yeah, you have to fucking fuck them. Of course you do. In one way or another. And I'm not going to explain what souls actually are in this game, but I'm sure you can figure out why you need to do the deed with them to soul feed them. Feed them. Like, come on, guys. Like, put 2 and 2 together. I'm not going to completely spell it out for you. Anyway, though, moving on, we head to Rottenburg and find Elma in her store and buy the cheeky little match that was requested, and we can now head back to Wilt, giving him the medicine.
Have you brought the medicine? Oh, thank you. Thank you. You're truly a good man. Well, no point in delaying it. I'll drink it all at once. Ha! Incredible. I feel like I can do anything. Now's not the time to dawdle. We must share the souls with the children.
He now heads in with him wanting to feed souls to them. Yeah, that was his plan all along. He just wanted to fuck the 2 kids. So to save the kids from this horrible fate, we kill Wilt. And killing him, Hansel and Gretel thank us, but state that they are running dangerously low on souls. And they need to be fed souls. For fuck's sake. Now this is entirely what the loop of Black Souls is. You meet a character, you do something for them, they're low on souls, and you fuck them. Yes, you have to choose. You could either choose to fuck one, the other, or both of them. I'm not going to keep going on because this was fucking weird. I will be honest. I did not enjoy it. So let's just move on and forget about it. With Hansel and Gretel saved, we can now head out and head back to Rottenburg, and we can save a cute dog as well and confront the Iron King in the mansion.
Annoying. Will every woman turn useless so quickly? Who the hell are you? Only a fool would step into my bedroom uncalled. Your stupidity deserves death. Not to mention, you're a man. I shall trample you flat.
Well, fighting the Iron King and killing him, as he has killed a few too many maids because his lust seems insatiable, we can enter the back room and find a maid, Victoria, who thanks us for saving her, but guess what? She also needs souls. She states that if she does not receive souls, she will forget everything and she will go probably hollow. So let's fill her up, for fuck's sake. I can't do it anymore. We oblige with this request, giving her 1,000 souls. But she gets a bit too frisky and takes 5,000, which, fuck me. Lass knows what she wants and she got it. But with Victoria doing it with us probably 5 times in a row, which, Jesus Christ, stronger the man than me, we now get Victoria as a summon, and honestly she's probably the best companion in the game, especially once you get her ultimate ability, because it is just extremely powerful. And honestly very much worth the price of admission of 5,000 souls, because that's honestly nothing. But moving on, we can head to Fort Ivan through the door downstairs, which, yes, this is the place we started the game at. Why are we here? Well, we're here to find a very key item to save a certain someone. We obtain Jeanne's ashes from where she was burnt by the dragon. Now, if you didn't kill the dragon earlier on, you'll have to kill the dragon here now. So it's honestly better to kill the dragon at the beginning because you get the sword for it. You get my point. But with this item obtained, we can now make our way to the prison cells where we started, and we can save the Hair Knight from his prison cell.
You? Who are you?
I thought it's that bastard came back. There are no other locked doors on the way out, right? I can finally leave. My name is Limiraj. I came from Andor. I'm here seeking the phantom treasure of this country. On the way, I teamed up with a fellow knight. Damn him, only for him to betray me. But thanks to you, I'm saved from turning into a demon beast's fodder. His name is Adamon. You too should be wary of him. Oh, and he was clad in green armor. You'll know it's him when you see it. That shithead takes pleasure in killing. Well, I'm sure we both had to kill before. But if you kill, at least do it for the sake of the world. Don't let his silver tongue trick you.
Wow, what a friendly fella. Obviously the two knights are the tortoise and the hare, that story, and explains why there's a rivalry between the two of them. But also here we can save Izu here.
Not knowing me, you are still willing to lend aid. I'm traveling knight Izu.
Izu to me kind of reminded me a bit of Solaire. He's kind of like the friend character who's on a similar journey to you. Great character, I love him, but let's continue on. Heading back to Behemoth Ranch, we can kill the hyena, obtaining the Three Little Pigs storybook, which are kind of the main collectible in this game, and you need to collect them all to obtain one of the endings. But also here we can kill the Bremen group of animals, and we can obtain the hidden body ability. Probably, honestly, the best ability early on. It's essentially a stealth skill. You go invisible and you can run past all the enemies, so it completely trivializes the entire game early on. And combat isn't the best way to level up in this game. The best way to level up in this game, especially early on, is just selling all the items you obtain, because a lot of them aren't worth using early on, especially the color souls items like the red, blue, green, yellow, black, white, ashen souls. It's better to just sell them and get a shit ton of souls from them, and then level up your character to get an increase in stats all around instead of a specific stat. So avoiding combat early on especially is honestly a better use of your time, because leveling up with combat isn't exactly the best way to go around it. But now we head to Jacob's mine from Behemoth Ranch, and in the mine we do a wee bit of leveling because there is actually some pretty good enemies here which kind of go against the point I just made about combat not being great. But the enemies here drop some very good items, so it's worth killing them, and they sell for quite a bit. But we can also find Adam in here again. But also there is a miner here, so we can save him as he's by the bonfire by giving him some medicine and yada yada yada, and also a boss fight within the mines, which is Behemoth, who is made completely trivial by using Leaf's abilities. But after doing everything in the mine, we can now head back to the Holy Forest and meet Catherine and her two guards. I'm sure nothing bad will ever happen to the fair maiden in any game that is labelled Souls with knights around her. That has never happened before, and the maiden always survives every Souls game they ever appear in. That is foreshadowing. Something terrible is going to happen to her. It's very obvious. It happened in Demon Souls, it happened in Dark Souls. But anyway, talking to her and wishing her well, we head back to the Behemoth Ranch and find a rather large white bull creature and milk it, which is what you do to any mysterious creature. You just milk it straight away. Why do we want the milk? Well, if you head towards the Helzer Desert, we can find these rabbits, and if you feed the rabbits the milk, they allow you to ride them, which increase your speed a shit ton. The reason we're in the Helzer Desert is we're here to obtain a couple of key items, mainly the Desert Rose, and to also make our way into the Garden of Snow, which is actually quite a challenging area. It's much higher level than you'll be at this point, especially I was, so you shouldn't be here to kill anything. Just use your stealth skill and make your way to Snow White's castle and get the bonfire, but also loot Snow White's castle, as all the people in there are dead, other than that white bunny, which I wonder if that has anything to do with Alice in Wonderland. Who cares though? We quickly grab Atlantic Invitation, and with that we can now head back to the Holy Forest and quickly go to Lops to upgrade our dragon sword to max, as within the Snow White castle you should obtain every upgrade item that you need. With the Drake sword completely maxed out, you no longer need to rely on Leaf or any other companion to do the damage for you, because the dragon sword has one of the strongest abilities in the game, apart from another sword that can one-shot most enemies. So the game got completely trivial now here for me. But also in the Holy Forest, I did something stupid. I accidentally sold the Desert Rose, which is a key quest item, so I prevented myself from getting a very powerful item later on. I did it completely accidentally, and I didn't mean to, and I didn't realize I sold it. So this is the point where I'm just laughing at myself, and it's annoying that I can see where I got rid of the rose and lost it. But again, it's kind of annoying there's no buyback option, or there was no locked thing for quest items, which I don't think you should really ever be able to sell in any game because that could potentially lock you out of something that is important. But after the mistake is made, I made my way to the Elixir Graveyard Town, fully utilizing the stealth skill, and made my way over to the Tainted Bog in order to meet the Frog Princess, one of the 4 demonic princesses, and we entered a covenant with her, just like the many factions within Dark Souls entering a covenant with them. But instead of giving them an item like humanity, we enter it with, sex. Of course we do. Of course we do. Now, the Frog Princess has such powerful sex with you, your level resets completely, which I hope you didn't invest too much into your levels to get the ring she gives you from entering the Covenant, which is one of the most powerful rings in the game, which is why you want to enter the Covenant with her. But with our level reset now, we quickly walked back to the Holy Forest, and I quickly leveled up again because I saved a bunch of souls for this exact reason, and we can also buy some Master Keys from the Prayer Master. So now with all these Master Keys, we now head back to the Elixir Town and reach another bonfire, but we also save Izu again from an ambush he was caught in.
Oh, splendid valor, we meet again. By your aid, I was able to advance further. For that, I'm grateful. Please accept this. The wicked fog causing people to turn into demon beasts. The one who forms it, demonic princess Cinderella. She is my mother. In memories of people, she was a wise, gentle mother. What evil could have brought her to insanity? Though I've cast away the country and escaped, now I want to meet with her, no matter what it takes. Yet to enter the Lost Empire, one must defeat the 4 demonic princesses. Most vexatious, that.
But also we can find the Hare Knight as well, just above him. Like Dark Souls, the quests are odd and you just have to speak to them to progress the quest. So with these 2 spoken to, we've progressed the quest to the point we need to, and we can now make our way to the Sea of Trash to face the Kraken in order to obtain another key item, the Kraken Tentacle. With the Kraken Tentacle obtained and heading back to the Holy Forest, you might notice at this point, because it depends on where it happens, Goose might have vanished. With Goose vanished, you'll have to run all over the shop to try find her, but spoiler alert, she's in the Sea of Trash in the tent that you might have spotted when you went to go kill the Kraken. And inside you'll find Goose. Basically, Goose was running a scam, being a banker, but then doing a runner with any souls that you stored within the bank. And depending on the dialogue you choose, she will either completely disappear from the game entirely, you can take her as a sex slave and rape her, which, I mean, fuck, if you want to do that, you can. Or you can choose to not forgive her, and she keeps trying to convince you to forgive her by trying to entice you. But if you continue to, you can then express your true undying love to her, which catches her off guard and caught me off guard because the dialogue felt fucking out of nowhere. But hey ho, avians and reptiles are similar in more ways than people realize. So you can confess your true love to Goose, and she realizes that she actually does like us, and she goes back to being in the Holy Forest as the banker, and we also obtain her as a summon. But now heading to the cathedral, an interesting sight is occurring. Oh, that ain't too good, is it? With the pooch being killed very quickly by our hands, we can head to the Skeleton Maze entrance, and we have 2 objectives here and the reason we are here. One is to save Catherine from her 2 knights who have fallen in battle and turned into demon beasts. And the other is to meet a rather friendly shaman.
A visitor here. No worries. I'm a good-natured skeleton. I'm not thinking of devouring you. Oh no. Well, let's take it easy, yes? Hear that? Song of heroism and malice. He keeps singing every day, that guy. Taken with it, soon enough, other skeletons will join into song too. I bet. Well, for you, it's nothing more than a piercing noise drilling through your head, ain't it? Well, what you came for? Recently, I found the spirit of a young female knight wandering through the maze. Took her under my care, still so young, poor thing. I had a body before. I know how painful it is. If only I had her body, I could have revived her. But seems like she was burnt by dragon flame, you know? Well, with her ashes and a kraken's tentacle, maybe I'd still find a way to revive her. But, alas.
The shaman here hints that a woman's spirit has been wandering the maze, lost, but she could be revived if we obtained her ashes and a kraken tentacle. Wow, it's almost as if we got them items specifically for this thing. With us already having them because the guide explained that we needed to get them fast, we hand him the items and he starts to resurrect Jeanne.
Well, now I'll be calling your body back into the world of living, restoring your honor, memory, flesh, and belongings.
You need to firmly crave yourself into your memory, show your raw desires to the world, and make it remember how you were alive. Jeanne, your name is Jeanne. Now, return.
With Jeanne being revived, she's incredibly weak, so guess what we have to do?
Oh boy, this isn't good. She don't have enough souls. She'll turn like this. Hey, do something. Feed her your souls. I already did all I could.
Yes, fucking of course, we feed our souls. Now, of course, you actually have a choice here of being a more helping person and to just save her, or to take her as a sex slave, which, why, I don't really know, but this is the second time that option's popped up. But it is an interesting point that a lot of people bring up about the rape in this game. Is it necessary? Kind of, not really, it isn't. You can completely ignore a lot of the rape, and I never actually really engaged with it until one point in the game where I needed to, but it does allow for an interesting point about role-playing. Do I think it's a good thing in general, the action? No. But if you want to be the most evil character in the world, the game allows you to really go really evil, which is cool in a sense, and I think does deserve to be there in a role-playing sense, and allows you to get more immersed in the world in a more disgusting way. This world is disgusting, that is a fact, but it also makes the role-playing more immersive and more engaging to play with and actually think about. You can play this game, as I stated, as the most evil fucker in the world, and you can take all the female companions as slaves, or you cannot. But it's still a player choice that you can make, and I think it's fine the way it is. It isn't honestly glorified, and it is very much positioned as a bad choice because you completely lose access to those summons if you choose to take them as slaves or rape them. But I just chose to help her, so of course we have sex with her. Whoopee. Sex count is like 6 now, I think. I can't remember. I lost count, I'll be honest. But we do the deed and Jeanne's memories return, and she pledges her allegiance to us, with her now becoming a summon for us. How nice. So heading back to the cathedral where we just killed that funny dog, we can re-meet Catherine, who has now left the skeleton maze, and summoning Jeanne, it turns out the pair actually know each other, and Jeanne convinced Catherine that she should join us. But oh no, guess what? Before she finally joins us, she's starting to go hollow. Well, wrong game. She's starting to run out of souls, and she's going to turn into a demon beast. So you know what that means? I'm not going to keep saying it. It's pretty obvious now at this point. Every time you recruit a character as a summon, you have sex with them. This is how the game goes. You do it, and we save her from becoming a demon beast by feeding her. I hate that. And now she becomes another summon for us, and she's honestly pretty good. Victoria, Leaf, and Dorothy were the ones I used the most, and mainly due to their buffs, but Catherine does have some decent buffs on her, so she is worth leveling up. Anywho, moving along, we now head back to Snow White's castle and into Wonderland by following that white rabbit, in which we can find a corpse which allows us to obtain each summon's ultimate ability, which are extremely powerful, either buffs or attacks, but they're very worth getting in general because they completely level up the summons in another way that makes them even more useful. But here I did a little bit of grinding, mainly because this area I think is DLC that was added later on, because all the rabbits give 10,000 souls. So if you find a battle with 5 rabbits, you get 50,000 souls. So I did a bunch of leveling here. But also I grabbed the bonfire so I could walk back here, but then I warped back to the mines and headed past the boss I killed a minute ago, Behemoth, and headed into the valley checkpoint, meeting another guy. And yes, I can actually voice the guy, but I should really get some female voice actresses in these videos. Basically, this fella is just here to tell us about Rapunzel. She is one of the 4 demonic princesses, we knew that, so heading into Goth's tower, we start to ascend it to confront the next demonic princess. But along the way, we are ambushed by Peter Pan, so we kill him, obviously, and continue up the tower, reaching a guardian chameleon, like the one from the story in the movie, and we kill it because it is actually a dragon in this game. But killing it and moving past it, we can meet Rapunzel. And this is the exact quest I locked myself out of. Rapunzel, trying to enter a covenant with her, she requests that we bring her a phantom flower, the desert rose. And at this point, I realized I sold the bloody flower. So what did I do? I just killed her. You would have to kill all the princesses eventually, so I just did it now after some great difficulty, as surprise, the princesses are actually one of the tougher boss fights in the game. But killing the foul woman, we move along and we head back to the Holy Forest, and we can meet Elizabeth in the Forest of Abandoned. And she has lost a ring somewhere in the forest, so we quickly run around like a lunatic to find the ring. But we can also find Dorothy at Toto's grave. Yes, the dog from the film and everything is now dead, how sad. But finding the ring, we can head back to Elizabeth and we return it to her. And now she offers us a reward, which we can either choose sex, which she heavily encourages, or we can refuse, saying that we just want her as a party member. So she agrees with that, and we actually get her as a party member without having to have sex with her. What is this? Character growth? Impossible in my game. Now, next I wanted to get another one of the party members, which was a more secret party member. But to do this, you would need to get 5 sins. Sins are obtained by doing something sinful, either killing a character that you're not meant to, or rape. And this is the part where you'd have to think about how to do that without impacting the rest of the game. Obviously, you would normally engage with one of the other characters, like one of the summons, to do this. But why are we trying to get sins? Well, we need to attract the attention of the Black Trial, who are kind of like the order of people that kill people who do sinful things. They're the so-called evil hunters. I don't know, people fear them, but we want to get their attention. So we need to, unfortunately, indulge in the game's rape mechanic. Now, who are we going to do that with? Well, funny thing is, if you try to do it with any of the party members you already recruited, they refuse and just say, we can do it anytime, just feed me souls. And if you do it with any of the unrecruited party members, they are transported in the dungeon below the Holy Forest and are prevented from ever becoming party members for you or summons. So honestly, you want to avoid doing this as much as possible, because if you do this, it locks you out of kind of parts of the game and prevents certain quests, which isn't fun. But there is a type of character which we can use for this role. A character that respawns over and over again, no matter how many times we kill them, rape them, do whatever to them. And that's the fairies. Like us, the undead, the fairies actually respawn, which Leaf told us earlier. And that is exactly what this anti-fairy is for. And I had to do this 5 times to the 3 different fairies in the Holy Forest. And man, I hated doing this. But obtaining my 5 sins, and no, I cannot show it, and yes, you kill them each time you have sex with them, we can now head over to the Tainted Bog, and we feel a strange, dark presence among us. Almost as if someone has invaded our world. But heading out and running around a bit, you'll eventually be confronted by a black condemner, Miranda. And she's actually quite a tough boss fight to beat, but beating her rather quickly, because again, I have one of the best weapons in the game. We don't kill her, but she basically yields, and she states that the defeated must obey the winner. And we are given a choice. She can either become our companion, and she'll join us in our quest, or, yeah, you get the point, a sex slave. You get the fucking point. You get it now? You get the choice, okay? So of course we take her as a companion. Of course I'm not going to pick the other option because I wanted her as a companion and a summon. I ain't that weird, but Miranda is honestly a pretty good summon. She is very tanky and is actually a great unit to throw out in the middle of battle to just get some bulk when you need it. But from what I gathered, she never actually learned any sort of taunt skill, which kind of made her tankiness sometimes pointless. She's a cool character though, and I really do like her design. And she is one of the only characters that was actually created for this game, as she has no link or origin to any other fairy tale that I personally could figure out, or the community could figure out. But anyway, with Miranda now being a summon, we reduce our sins really quick so we don't keep getting ambushed by the Black Trial, because they do just ambush you randomly. We can now head out to the Gothel's Tower and head through and fight another boss, some skeleton guys, and I'll be honest, I was really strong at this point, so I literally just one-shotted them. But we now reach the empty beach, and with the Atlantic invitation, we can now open up some stairways and head down, and we can find the Poseidon Hotel. The hotel allows you to spend a night with your party member if the party member is over level 100. You invite them into a private room and you have a saucy scene with them. Very cool, but also you can kill them here if you want to, and spoiler alert, you're going to need to use this eventually. Heading though out of the hotel now, we can find a building called Inside Mermaid, which we meet the Little Mermaid. So is there a Big Mermaid, and are we inside the... You get the point, we're inside the Big Mermaid. Of course we enter a covenant with the Little Mermaid, which yes, we have sex with her, and then we kill the Little Mermaid, attaining yet another very powerful ring. With her dead now, we head back to Fort Ivan and confront Beauty LaBelle, and she states that we will never confront Cinderella, the final boss of the game, the Gwyn of this world, and we are ambushed by a platoon of archers and a knight in armor, and the knight is a very big knight. This boss fight is a direct mirror to the Tower Knight in Demon Souls. Honestly, it was kind of cool, and I was kind of like the simple pog face pointing at screen when it happened. I can't even lie. It's cool though. It's a fun boss fight. But killing it very quickly, a bunch of cats appear from its dead body and run away. But with the knight dead, we quickly head back to Elma's shop to finally proc her quest. She has a quest which randomly pops up like whenever it happens. But with it finally popping, we now see the snake within her shop. So it means that we have to reload, because if we kill the snake, she just runs away and she dies to the Pied Piper. So we now have to head back to the sewers, find the clown guy in the sewers, kill the Pied Piper, which explains all the rats in the sewers, by the way. And now we can head back to Elma's shop, kill the snake guy, and now she can make her way to the Holy Forest. It is the most convoluted fucking quest in the world, and it makes no sense, but that is what you have to do. And I think if you kill certain enemies too early, it fucks the quest's pacing up and unscripts and bugs it out, so you have to do it in this weird order. Talking to Elma now, like of course, like everyone, Goose, whatever, she rewards us with some sexual favor and we get her as a summon. For fuck's sake, why does every character want the character's dick? I don't get it. Bro is suffering from success. With Elma as a summon, we can now see a boat appear in the Holy Forest. So heading onto it and heading out, we find another boss, the one who observes. I'm sure there is some symbolism there about people who observe stories and everything. But killing it, we reach Red Riding Hood's house and we interact with her. And it gets to the point where we can actually purchase her as a summon. Of course, that comes with some sexual service with, whatever the fuck it is. But finally obtaining her, we now have all 10 companions obtained, which was my objective. So now we head back to Snow White's castle and fulfill her request to kill the other princesses. So I quickly go kill the Frog Princess, and once she's dead, we can now head back to Snow White, enter a covenant with her, and then kill her, killing all 4 of the demonic princesses. So we've done all of it, and yes, we had sex with all 4 of them before we killed them all. I don't get the point of it, don't ask me. But with all 4 princesses killed, we have all 4 of their rings, or I would have if I didn't fuck the Rapunzel quest up, so I had 3 rings, but you get the point. Each one gives you a very powerful ring, which all do very specific things, and basically make your character into God. But with the 4 princesses dead, we now head back to Fort Ivan to basically start our way to the final boss. But quickly we head back to the Holy Forest and we can meet Izu there.
The Lost Empire was the most splendid country it was. Queen and knights, people of all stations, all were pure, poor, yet strong, filled with a dry warmth. I studied in many advanced countries in the south, and yet haven't even found one more charming than the Lost Empire. But why did I go this way? But why did it go this way? I cannot imagine Mother wishing this. The 4 demonic princesses lay slain by your hand. I'll go now. The Lost Empire is finally but a few steps away.
How nice, from Izu. Some leveling later and obtaining a ring from Leaf, which allows us to attack twice in a single action, which is honestly way too powerful and made it so sometimes I would hit 4 or 6 times before an enemy could actually hit me. We can now head to the Great Wilhelm Bridge and be confronted by a rotting Hell Kaiser. The Drake we killed at the start of the game somehow has come back to life, so we kill it again, and reaching the end of the bridge, we meet the 2 knights again.
Die, you asshole! Oh, it's you, but please aid me. He suddenly assaulted me with his blade in hand. Please, I need your help here.
With us choosing violence to kill both of them and seeing through the deception, we kill them very easily and deal with them immediately, ending their quest line, as it was very clear they were just trying to trick us into trust. You might ask, what is the point of their quest? Well, it unlocks this area, and heading through this area and into a secret area, you can find a large white dragon. Which, guess what? Kill it. Once you kill it, you obtain the Moonlight Greatsword. Yes, the same greatsword from all the Souls games. And it is far and away the strongest weapon in the game. So we finally replaced the Drake blade with the Moonlight Greatsword, and we fully upgrade this fine blade, and now we basically one-shot everything with its ability. But with us fully kitted out and ready to go, we now enter the Lost Empire, the final stage of the game, in which we fight quite a lot of powerful enemies, which give us a good number of souls, but slowly but surely making our way through the castle, we eventually reach Belle again, and the beast is also there. They ambush us, of course, and a boss fight ensues, but again, we are so powerful that I one-shotted both of them, and with Belle defeated, we have 3 choices. Kill her, rape her, or let her go. Now, the funny thing is, if you want to get a certain ending, you cannot let her go, because if you let her go, she is removed from the game and you can never obtain her fairy tale book. So to get one of the endings, you need to either kill her or rape her. So pick whichever one you want and just move on. You will have to kill her eventually, so it's probably best if you just kill her. But moving on from that, we now get into the Garden of Grief, and man, this is an interesting area, isn't it? It looks like the world itself is collapsing in on itself, like it's all a fake world made up for a story that is just starting to collapse in now. But reaching the boss of this area, the pumpkin carriage, and defeating it very easily again, we can enter the Path of Dreams, and we are assaulted by a certain vanguard.
Sinner Croc, you took souls of 5 innocents. Your soul is black with taint. It is our duty as the Black Trial to get rid of you. Resign yourself.
And this fucker is tough. If you don't kill him fast enough, he seems to just have an insta-kill move, so you need to kill him very quick. And a couple of close calls in my fight later, we enter the final hallway up to the last boss, and we can meet Izu again, and he has something rather interesting to say.
We meet again. It seems in the end, I truly couldn't do anything myself. Mother is just ahead. Please, I have but one request for you. Kill my mother. Her existence brings only suffering to the human world. And please, take this, so that where I failed, you may succeed. Please, I have but one request for you. Kill my mother. Her existence brings only suffering to the human world.
Izu reveals that his mother is Cinderella herself, and that her existence is only a detriment to humanity, and she needs to die. So we oblige with this request now. Now, before you enter the final room and confront Cinderella, if you head back to the Holy Forest and enter the Room of Reminiscence, you can actually equip Izu's armor. Now, if you enter Cinderella's chamber with this armor, we get a very different scene. Of course, first we need to kill her 2 guards, but once we do that, Cinderella believes that we are in fact her own son Izu, and she rapes us, which is not as horrible. Because incest and everything, honestly, this is fucked as well. As Cinderella's first thought upon seeing her son is incest, which, damn, this game really is Japanese completely. But we did that to obtain another ring from Cinderella herself, as this allows us to enter a covenant with her. But now we actually have to fight her. If you fight and lose to her, by the way, she takes you as a slave herself, which she is the only character that does this, which is kind of odd to me. Going past that and actually fighting her now and defeating her, she leaves behind a fog gate, which we can either touch it by ourselves or with another character, a character that you have made a good relationship with, basically got over level 100. So at this point now, we are on to all the endings. Yes, I know that was actually pretty quick, but the game's actually pretty simple when you take out all the exploring out of it. So let's start with ending B, touching it ourselves, which is kind of a funny way to phrase it. Okay, it's a bit of an unsatisfying ending, which is clearly stating there is more to find, and it is explicitly telling us that Alice is out there somewhere and that we should try find her. But what about if we touch it with another person? So if you have a character that's over level 100 for any of the female companions, you get what in most games would be like the ending romance scene, if you think about it. The game that I thought about immediately was like Fire Emblem Three Houses, where you can pick a character that you want to marry and then you get an ending cutscene with them that is like, ooh, happy, they lived happily ever after. It's that sort of thing. But this isn't a nice game. These aren't good endings. Apparently there is variations of these endings, a good one which is like a fake out ending, and the true like version of that ending which is the bad ending. I couldn't seem to get the good ending to actually proc. I could only get the bad ones to proc no matter what items I changed on my character or whatever I did. But the bad endings in my eyes are the ones that you're meant to see. I don't think the good endings should be taken as good endings. They should be taken as sort of fake outs. But anyway, let's go over each girl, shall we, in order. First off, Miranda. You both go on a journey which leads you to fighting the remaining demon beasts in the lands, but it never seems to end, with demonic princesses rising up over the ages and you going to kill them over and over and over again. It seems to be a never-ending battle. But the pair, you and Miranda, fall deeply in love with each other on the battlefield, loving the moments you spend with each other, with Miranda even wanting to have a child with you. How romantic, surrounded by the blood of war. But Miranda's heart is on the battlefield, so you keep fighting even when you want to finish, but her her flame for fighting never actually dies out. But like every soldier on a battlefield, if the fight goes on long enough, eventually they will fall on the battlefield. With Miranda agreeing to one last fight with a last castle they want to siege together, they push forward and Miranda pushed herself too far with her falling on this very battlefield. And you being an undead means you cannot die. You cannot join her in death, meaning now you are completely separate ever. You are left in the world without the woman whom you fell in love with the most. But she died with a smile on her face. She died doing exactly what she lived. We would live in an eternity of torture knowing we couldn't save the woman that we chose to stay with. A very tragic ending and honestly horrible, but we also hear a cry of a newborn ring out at the very end, hinting that potentially there was a child as well, maybe. Honestly, horrible ending, and I actually like Miranda quite a bit. But let's move on. Next up, Elma. The pair open up a shop, selling Elma's medicines, obviously, but she goes out in secret to gather supplies. We get suspicious, we want to protect her and everything, but she denies it, saying that we can't come with her, she needs to do it on her own. One night, however, she never actually returns home, and with rumours of women being kidnapped in the night, we start to freak out, obviously. But we hear amongst the town and whispers amongst the news that the kidnapper of the women has been caught. So we go to see who it was and see the person being executed. It's fucking Elma hanging from the gallows. She was the one kidnapping and harvesting humans for her medicines, and yeah, this one comes out of fucking nowhere. It's actually insane. But it's kind of a fucked ending where you don't actually seem to 100% know if she was the person that you were with the entire time. Great fun ending, honestly, and it completely comes out of nowhere. Next up, Jeanne. Jeanne takes us to her homeland of Orleans. She gets all dressed up, we go to a ball with her. But oh no, here comes Dragonfire, completely engulfs the entire place in fire, killing everyone, of course except us, and Jeanne gets burned so bad that even the ash doesn't contain Jeanne's soul anymore, which is insane. So we can't even revive her no matter what now, which is pretty unlucky and honestly a very tragic way to die because the ending text is kind of horrific because it is like just screaming. But this one's kind of, you know, not that bad, like Dragonfire, but the next one is fucking horrible. It's Goose's. In my eyes, this is the worst one. So our protagonist in Goose, they have a child. How nice. But they struggle to find a place to live because demi-humans, half humans, half animals, are shunned, and undead are also shunned. So they're a couple who no one will want to take them in. With the other girls, they are humans, so we have an easier time finding a place to live, but with Goose, there's no hope for us. But they make do with it, with Goose becoming a delivery woman, with her being able to fly to some very difficult places, and it makes her good at her job. But of course, one day she never comes home from her job. So we start searching for her with our child with us, and eventually we come across a dead body, and it's Goose's body. It is completely shredded and completely torn up, and her skull is caved in. It's an unrecognizable sight, and it is obviously described in a way that is meant to depict something is just completely mangled beyond any sort of comprehension. But now, at this point, with the child seeing their mother's body, begins to laugh. The child is interesting because it never showed emotion when Goose and you were raising it. And Goose said that once they hear the first laughter from the child, they will know that it would all be worth it and that happiness would be possible. And it's laughing at the dead mother, so obviously our character loses it. In a white rage, he strangles his own child to death, killing it. But even after killing his own child and realizing what he has done, he then starts to hear the distant laughter of other children, indicating that Goose might have been assaulted and killed by humans. So our protag now becomes someone evil. He becomes the villain of his own story, and he picks up a blade and probably heads towards the closest town to enact some revenge. Can't really blame him, I'd do the exact same fucking thing. Anyway, moving on. Dorothy. By the way, I didn't actually mention, Dorothy is actually Oz from The Wizard of Oz, like the guy, and he transitioned. Pretty cool character and actually a cool use of fairy tale. I like it. Anyway, moving on. The two of you get married and you slowly start to make your way up into the world's bureaucracy and you become kings and queens of the entire world. You rule over the entirety of it, creating a unified kingdom, with you being king and her being. Eventually, the pair of you settle down and you start to live a very normal life. But one night, Dorothy awakens in extreme pain and appears to be pregnant. But she's inflating at an alarming rate, more and more, eventually it becoming unbearable and she fucking explodes. She dies right there with you unable to save her. And with that, what came out of her, something maniacal was there, something smiling in a horrifying manner sat there within her. It's very clear that something within all these stories is playing and influencing the women's lives and killing them off, preventing us from having that happy ever after with them. So let's carry on and see what the other ones are like, because this is completely unnatural. The other one's kind of believable, you could imagine it happening, but this is one where you're like, something's not right with these endings, and they all seem to end in a very unusual way for the character. Now, Victoria's ending. Within the Victoria's ending, you become a lord of a area, you get a mansion, and you choose her to be your main maid. Very nice. She becomes your servant, but hey, guess what? Turns out Victoria is actually a succubi, and succubi need to be fulfilled sexually, which each night means she has to be fulfilled by you, and you do that. But it explains that she slowly keeps getting friskier and more demanding, and she starts to get needy earlier and earlier in the day, but eventually she's coming to you all the time, which some people would like, others would call that a bit of a hindrance to their professional lives. But at one point it basically gets to the point where Victoria is killing you, like she is draining you completely, because succubi, they drain your life force through that method. You get that. She's slowly killing us, and it's clear from her dialogue she's mentally losing it. She is not all there, and she drops into what appears to be some sort of seizure when we deny her request. With us trying to comfort her, she then attacks us, gouging out an eye with a spoon. And now she starts to threaten us. She has gone completely crazy and has lost her mind. She speaks of hearing a voice, the voice of Mary Sue, the god of this world, saying that Victoria is fake and she shouldn't be there with the player character. With her losing her mind, we decide that we're going to save her life, and she's basically begging us to kill her as well. We completely cleave her head clean off, and the last line of dialogue states that we keep her company this night as well, which indicates that we have sex with just her head, which, I don't know, necrophilia maybe? Our character seems fucked and he genuinely did love Victoria, so I ain't gonna judge. Then again, technically, is it necrophilia because we're an undead, so we're technically dead and we're having sex with a dead, but you get the point. Anyway, let's move on. Next, Elizabeth. Elizabeth, she takes us as her new husband, she becomes a new demonic princess, and we completely cleave off the many heroes who took the same path that we did, but they all fall to our blade. With Elizabeth, you know, thanking us and everything, and one night when we're talking to Elizabeth, she just suddenly fucking explodes, like just out of nowhere, kind of like what happened to Alice at the very beginning of the game, which is interesting, and it is not normal. Maybe it has to do with that character that Victoria mentioned, that Mary Sue, the god or goddess of this world. Well, let's move on to Catherine. Catherine returns to her homeland, the lands of Orleans, and she returns to her holy duties, but we join her as her own personal knight. And maybe a bit more than that. No, of course not, she's a lady of God. That's very respectable, only joking. The pair do it in secret a lot, it's fine, don't care. But one night we are awoken by strange chants about a black goat and a sky bathed in red. We quickly realise something's wrong, we quickly try to find Catherine, but when we do, we find her laying on an altar and she seems to be being sacrificed by the people chanting. We fight, but ultimately we can't reach her in time, and a black abyss consumes her entirely, and an evil god is called forth from her body. That is a horrible ending, and Catherine is probably the best girl in the game, and she gets probably one of the worst endings in my eyes because she just gets fucking sacrificed. Next is Red Riding Hood's ending. We live with her in an isolated house in the woods, with her searching for something each day. She comes back though, but for years of this happening, one night she never returns, with only a letter remaining with her stating that the demonic princesses were victims too, and she's hunting for the one behind everything. And she doesn't want to involve someone that she actually does deeply care about, as Red Riding Hood was someone that didn't show any sort of emotions, some people's perfect waifu character, but she never actually showed it to us, ever. But she does state in this letter that she did actually love us, which is kind of nice. And the last statement in this letter though is rather interesting. It's about her not dying if she doesn't cut off someone's head. Whoever this is probably the person behind everything, I'd assume, but it doesn't really make sense, and I think it might be a mistranslation, or I'm stupid, probably the latter. And finally, Leaf's ending, which has us return to the Holy Forest with her and the player character living their lives happily ever after for the rest of time. But of course, something bad happens, right? No. Yeah, Leaf is the only one that gets a good ending, and this itself should hint towards something. Of course, the B ending as well hints that there is another ending out there within the library that we saw at the beginning of the game, and it's clear the other girls' lives were influenced in some way, shape or form. I mean, for fuck's sake, Elizabeth just exploded. It's clear that Mary Sue has either directly caused their deaths or influence them mentally or other situations into getting them killed. So our job's not finished quite just yet. Now this part is pretty monotonous, I will be honest, and it is basically me doing the rest of the playthrough for the DLC part and also the things that we need to do for the C ending. So let's quickly speed through these endings because I don't really want to go over everything because there's not really a lot here. So for the C ending, which was considered the true ending until the DLC came out and Black Souls 2 was released. So for the C ending, we need to return to the library in Wonderland behind the Bandersnatch, who was one of the harder bosses in the game. Inside we find Alice, or a fake Alice, as the real Alice died, and this is a recreation of her. And she states that we need to fill up the library, so we do just that with all the books we found, and we can enter the next room. But in the next room, we find that there is books for characters who are our companions, and the only way to get these books is to kill them. So to do this, we have to return to the Poseidon Hotel and kill all the characters associated with each fairy tale. And yes, you have to kill this Alice as well to get her book as well. With all the books in place, we can now flip the lever that appears and we can now enter the final part of the game for ending C. Heading out the door, we find the world is completely corrupted and completely fucked, and we slowly see the facade of the world collapsing down within itself. Also, anyone we talk to just fucking explodes, including the dog, but for some reason Victoria doesn't, and she prevents us from moving forward. So we have to kill her. In killing her, we then run into Leaf being attacked by the 3 fairies. So we have to fight the 3 fairies, save her, and she joins us, and then we continue moving forward in search for Mary Sue to end what is occurring in this world. But as we ascend the mountain, we run into the Black Vanguard again, and you either have to fight him if you didn't recruit Miranda, or if you did recruit Miranda, she will be there and will stop him from attacking us, getting him to back off. But continuing past this point, you will eventually reach the top of the mountain, and you will find that there is no Mary Sue there. Leaf and the protagonist confused. Leaf asks us to reveal the true identity of Mary Sue, as apparently we should have figured it out by now. Entering the wrong name, we die, of course, but entering Leaf with the correct capitalizations, because if you put Leaf full caps, you still die. You get, that is right, all is revealed. Leaf was secretly the true god of this world, or goddess, Mary Sue. Wow, what a twist. But she revealed that she made this world in the image of some of her favourite authors, the authors who made these fairy tales, and she reveals that our true name was Grimm the entire time, with her wanting to make us the main character in one of our own stories. She wanted us to fall into her so she could fully take over the world entirely and be the creator of it. So technically we are also a god because we also kind of helped make this world and shape it in a way. So of course a fight ensues with Mary Sue. Eventually we defeat her with her questioning why we fight, when we know once we kill her, the entire world will end. It's a 3-stage boss fight, so there's some conversation in there about that as well, and it's quite a tough boss to beat. With her being unable to realize how she actually lost to us, and that she states that we were meant to die, so we changed the destiny apparently, our character makes a rather interesting action here. With Leaf basically giving up, we decide to start making love to her passionately, leading to her dropping her guard, and yes, we have full sex with her, but during this we completely switch, with us beginning to strangle her to death while still doing the deed, eventually snapping her neck. It's a completely fucked ending and honestly disgusting in a way with the way it plays out. And with Mary Sue killed, all of our companions return to us as well as Alice, and the game fades out. A really fucking odd ending, which I will dive more into in a minute, but let's quickly get through ending D. Ending D has us travel to the subterranean land of and meet Baphomet, and she is the leader of the Black Trial. With us asking to join her, she requests that we complete a couple of tasks, mainly targets for us to kill. First, Pinocchio, as he was actually kidnapping people that stayed at the hotel and killing them that stayed there. So we kill him, then we kill the tick-tock clock Croc, my distant cousin. We killed Leonard and the prayer master. Yes, the guy that allows us to level up, so make sure you completely level up. But also you can run around killing a bunch of other mini bosses as well, which are other fairy tale characters, so it is worth doing that as well. Returning to Baphomet and allowing her to enter the Holy Forest and also enter a covenant with her, we return to a bloodbath in the Holy Forest with all of our companions being killed. And in the basement, in the prison that we have, she's confronting Leaf, and the curtain falls again here. with the reveal that Leaf was actually orchestrating the entire game, which was just thrown in ending C, but is kind of an alternate ending, and actually the true ending because this leads directly into Black Souls 2. But then we enter combat with Baphomet, or the Black Goat, yes, the same god that killed Catherine in her, and the best girl was sacrificed to this god apparently. We defeat her, and then Leaf explodes Baphomet when she loses the battle, and then she explodes all of our companions, which again, it's revealed Leaf is actually the goddess Mary Sue, with her wanting to take us away with her and fall in love with her. But then Alice returns, clapping and saying that the character Grimm's true love is Alice herself, and we finally, in this ending, actually reunite with the original Alice. This is honestly the most fucking confusing ending, that just sort of everything happens at once very quickly. But it is meant to tie into the next game, which dives more into the relationship with Alice, I'm pretty sure. So, with all the endings quickly covered, I will go in a bit more detail. So what the actual fuck was this game trying to get across to us? At first glance, at what most people will tell you and what most other videos will say, is that Black Souls is just a weird little RPG maker game, grim fairy tale aesthetic and story, messed up hentai scenes, and a whole lot of edge for the sake of edge. But you see, I'm not most people. So let's start with the protagonist himself, Grimm. His name's a dead giveaway. Sure, a reference to the brothers Grimm, but it goes a bit deeper than that. This Grimm isn't just a character like the brothers Grimm. He's more a symbol, a man consumed by stories, either ones he's read or maybe the ones he's written himself. And somewhere along the way, those stories stopped being entertainment but became a prison to him, a delusion. His entire world is a warped patchwork of corrupted fairy tales, Red Riding Hood, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, the Frog King, all twisted into nightmarish reflections of his broken psyche. The world doesn't feel right immediately because it isn't. It's not a fantasy, it's a symptom, a hallucination, a projection of a man falling apart. And let's be real, a lot of these original fairy tales, especially the original Grimm ones, they weren't innocent either. They were cruel, brutal, and often horrifying. Women were punished or controlled in these stories, children were mutilated or eaten, monsters didn't just exist, they usually most of the time actually won in these stories at the end of the day. These stories weren't meant to be heartwarming, they were meant to disturb, to warn, and scar children to teach them a lesson. Black Souls knows that. It doesn't ignore that fact, it embraces that style of storytelling. But it's not just for shock value. It asks what happens when someone internalizes that darkness, when they treat it not as caution but as gospel. That is the lesson they take away from these stories, that the bad things are actually okay. The result is a game world dripping with madness, guilt, and rot. The heroines aren't damsels to save, they're mirrors to understand or to flee from, and the hero, he might be the most monstrous figure of them all. There's no getting around it, Black Souls is extremely uncomfortable to play through, watch, whatever. The sexual violence, abuse, and depravity aren't there just to be provocative. They're disturbing because they're supposed to be. That is the artist's intention. They show how far gone Grimm actually is. His mind is so twisted that even when he saves many of these women, it's done through bad means, either through violence, by killing people close to them, obsession, or, yes, most of the time, sex. But it's not erotic, it's sick. Because you're not playing a savior character, a holy knight clad in white armor, you're someone dark and depressing. You're playing a man rewriting a fantasy world to justify his own monstrosities and his own desire. He's not helping these people, he's using them. He's playing in a world that he himself created so he can fulfill his own fantasy. And the game wants you to feel that exact fact. But then there's Alice. Alice herself, from Alice in Wonderland, she is not from a grim fairy tale, and her inclusion is key in my eyes, because Black Souls isn't just about one man's trauma, it's about obsession with fiction itself. Grimm isn't a stand-in for the brothers Grimm. He's a stand-in for any reader, writer, or creator who loses themselves in the stories that they create or are immersed in, and they start treating them fantasies like they are reality. Alice is presented to the player as the ideal, the unattainable, the dream you refuse to let go of a woman or partner. Her dialogue very much implies this when you meet her again in the library, where she says she is there just for you. It's meant to be a stereotypical presentation of a woman character in a story like this for the main hero. But the point is she isn't real. She's not even a real human character when you meet her again in the library. She's just another figment. She's another creation. But Grimm himself doesn't actually love her in the way that you probably would love another person. He almost needs her, because without her, his whole fantasy collapses in on itself. Mechanically, the game plays like a traditional RPG. You level up, you fight bosses, you get stronger, but the more you play, the more hollow the game starts to feel. The world doesn't get better as you fight on and kill more characters. The people don't get saved at all in the end. It all keeps spiraling downwards slowly but surely, making less and less sense. You think you're progressing and you are level-wise, but really you're just digging deeper and deeper into a delusion that has been created. Every victory is another layer of denial. You're not saving anything, you're just running from reality. And that's what it all boils down to me. Black Souls is a game about despair, about hiding in fiction instead of facing the world itself. Grimm couldn't cope with reality potentially, so he built up another world, but because he never healed, that world is just as cruel, just as broken as the one he left. It's his pain projected outwards. Yet beneath all the horror and sex, there's something quite powerful. The fact that Black Souls refuses to sanitize the trauma it's trying to present and the trauma it displays, it presents everything so raw, so openly, it means something. It's saying this is what happens when you let pain itself define you, when you start to rewrite reality to reflect our own grief. And in that, maybe there is a bit of hope, because while Grimm is trapped in his own mind, we ourselves aren't, and if we can recognize this, and we can recognize when stories help and when they hurt, we can actually potentially heal from the problems we have ourselves. Healing doesn't come from a fantasy world, it comes from facing the dark, not hiding it, but sometimes stories can help guide you in your journey for healing. One of the game's most haunting ideas is the lie sometimes we tell ourselves: if I can save just one person, if I can find the right person, I'll be okay. Throughout the game, you're offered many routes to end the game with, romantic, intimate endings with the many female characters in the game. But these themselves, they're not love stories, they're fantasies, desperate, fragile fantasies. With Red Riding Hood, you live in isolation, but something always feels off and you are eventually abandoned. Dorothy becomes a very powerful witch, you become king and queen, but she dies in childbirth. Elizabeth turns into a demonic princess, you become a bodyguard, but then she explodes. Jeanne, she dies in a last dance in hellfire. Catherine becomes a saint, but she is sacrificed. Goose's route ends in exile, and then she is murdered. These aren't happy endings, even if you cut the second part out. They're lies. They're beautiful cages that Grimm has created himself. They're fantasies. Grimm isn't connecting with these women. We never really learn anything about them, but he's clinging to them. Not to the love, but to the idea of salvation, finding meaning in another person, not within yourself. And the game punishes him for doing that. It punishes us, the player, for doing that action. These aren't honestly bad endings, but they're hollow endings. They're melancholy illusions. You think you've done the right thing, you found meaning in another person, but nothing changed with you, the player. You're still broken, still running from the first objective that you were given in this game, to find Alice. You are living a lie. Black Souls makes this painfully clear, that salvation through others is a poisoned idea, not because love itself is bad, but because using people to escape yourself never actually works. These endings are stories, full of roses, sure, but with more thorns than petals. Ending B, though, is the classic grind sort of story that people now, for some reason, love to talk about. You defeat the final boss, you restore the world, become a hero, but it's all surface level. Grimm is still broken, the trauma is still there, just buried under the illusion of accomplishment. It's a brutal metaphor for how people use work, hobbies, productivity as coping mechanisms, hoping that if we do just enough, that we'll be okay. But you can't grind your way out of many things in life. You can save the world, and you can still feel empty. Ending D itself as well is more of a sequel tease than anything, but then there's Ending C, the most intense and disturbing ending in the entire game. Grimm confronts Mary Sue, the godlike author, that's pulling the strings of this fantasy world. And what follows isn't just a fight, it's a symbolic reckoning. Grimm has sex with Mary Sue even as he kills her, strangling her in a violent emotional climax. It's not shock for the sake of it. It's a metaphor. Mary Sue is both creator and captor. She made this world that we are playing in and that we are stuck in, but she has also led us to have a great deal of suffering. We've had to kill so many people to reach this point, but also Leif from our journey has been the one that is closest to us. But his final act, this union of intimacy and destruction, is a portrait for the human psyche at war with itself. Mary Sue, I don't look at as her own character. To me, she represents more the creative side of writers or storytellers. She represents a side that is more twisted, that maybe these are the things people want to talk about, their grief, their trauma, their issues in life, but they keep them out of their stories because they fear of what might make people think. They put on a fake character, i.e. Leif and Mary Sue, two completely separate characters. But this ending itself, it's about our complicated relationship with those who shape us, with trauma, with identity, with the stories we engage ourselves with. Sometimes we love the very things that break us. Sometimes liberation means facing that contradiction head on. The act itself is not peaceful, it's not redemptive, it's a scream of rage and heartbreak from someone who doesn't want to be controlled anymore, but doesn't know how to be free either. So yeah, Black Souls is uncomfortable, disturbing, messed up. Honestly, I want to forget it, but it's also a game that really does have something to say, but it's also very fucking confusing. But it's also one of the most brutally honest games I've played in a while, about how stories reflect us in readers, creators, and everything, and how they can be twisted by the pain that we ourselves don't confront. I myself am guilty of this. I reflect my own problems into stories, seeing things that probably were never meant to actually be there. I'm sure with my previous videos, some of you might have seen this, because at its core, Black Souls is about this very thing. When we run from reality into the arms of fantasy, we don't escape the nightmare, we just bring it with us. Grimm never understood that, but maybe we can. Hello lads and lasses, thanks for watching. I know this is a very, and I mean very different video for me to make, but I got this game recommended when I did Sayana Uta, and it's been on my radar, and I wanted to do it before I did a Dark Souls video, which I'm planning on doing pretty soon, mainly for my 1-year channel anniversary. But I hope it came out alright. It was very confusing, and I actually thought I lost half my recording as I was making this video, but no, my computer decided to save it in a completely different file, which is good fun. But anyway, of course, thank you to all channel members, obviously, Chelsea and Tyler, Marty Morris, Game Scavenger, and, oh, look at that, not Saber. Thank you to all of you, and especially thank you to Saber, obviously, for shouting out my channel for the last video, the Dead Space video, which was very kind of him, and I appreciate it a lot, genuinely. But yeah, next video, I'm planning on doing Dead Space 3, as you guys seem to like the Dead Space 2 video, and I did want to do Dead Space 3, and I kind of just want to play it because I know I have some good things to say about that game. But yeah, after that, I'm not too sure. I might do something a bit different. I was thinking of doing Dying Light, but I'm not too sure yet. Nothing's concrete, but I'm definitely doing Dead Space 3 after this video. And yes, don't worry, I will do Dead Space 1 one day. I promise that. Just give me time. I just don't want to do all the games in a row and get completely burnt out of the series, because I know that will make a worse video for me, because that happened with the Amnesia games. As I made one, I kind of got burnt out while making the second one, so I'm trying to space them out, of course. But yeah, that's enough waffling from me though. I won't keep going on and yapping. See you around. Crocodile.